Okay, this is part 2 of drawing a botanical design based on the square within a circle. So I've softened the edges a little bit to make them look somewhat more natural. We could, of course, make them look even more natural by giving them a slightly rounder shape, but you get the point. Next thing we want to do is add some leaves behind these petals. So I want to do the leaves based on a rotated square, which would divide the circle into 8s. So one easy way to do it with just a compass and a straight edge will be to find the halfway point along one of these edges of the square. So I have my compass. I know that I can set it down on one point and make a small arc and then move it to the opposite point and draw the arc and use that to bisect this line by drawing a line from these two intersecting arcs through the center of my circle and square. So I now have divided the circle halfway this way. I'll do the same thing here. Oops, slightly out of your view. Now I've divided my circle into 8 equal parts. So let me darken this line a little bit for you. And I'll use these points to draw the leaves behind my petals. So for a more organic look, I'll start with the softened edge. I don't have to come all the way out to the edge of my circle. That's a matter of design. But if I want to find the same point along this edge, I can of course use my compass, find this point along the vertical axis, measure the distance out here, swing it in an arc, and that gives me roughly the same spot. Since I've drawn a hand-drawn line with these edges of the petals, it won't be exact, but it will keep the design more symmetrical than just doing it by eyeball. So I'm using this point along the green axis to see where it intersects these petals. Drawing an arc. And then I also want to measure the distance to the point of this leaf. So I'll go from the center of my flower to the outermost point of the leaf. And I'll swing that arc around to these different axes that represent where the leaves will go. And now I've got the outermost point of my leaf determined. Need to come back with the compass. Measure this distance. Okay, I could leave it there, or I could add another set of petals, smaller ones, within here. And I've got the 8 axes laid out. I'm going to make them a little bit darker, but maybe I would decide to add another set of petals inside my flower, and maybe I would use 8 petals instead of 4. So you can decide how elaborate you want to get. Right now I'm just marking the axes clearly for you to see. Then I will draw another circle. Of course, it's helpful if you do your planning in graphite first. So I want my next set of petals to have this as the outermost edge, so I'm going to make another circle here to determine the size of that inner set of petals. And then I'm using this axis first. I know it's getting a little hard to see. Draw my first petal. I'll shade that in. I'm just going to go freehand at this point. I got to remember to use this axis and use this circle as the outermost point of my petal. Then I'll rotate my papers because it's easier to work that way. There we go. So this could go on forever. I could add another set of petals, I could add another set of leaves, and so forth. You will experiment with this square within his circle and then divide it into 8.